Saria, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be showing you how I made this pair of Winnie the Pooh inspired ears. This has been a very highly requested video, and I'll be honest with you guys, it took me forever just to kind of nail down like what I wanted them to look like, but I did decide to kind of go with like honey and bumblebees, because when I think of Winnie the Pooh, that's what I think of. I think of him with his honey pots, trying to get this honey, and the bees will not get out of his way. Rude. I also really, because these were so highly requested, I wanted to do something special with them. So yes, these are light up ears. I did put the lights kind of behind the bees, which it occurred to me later that that almost makes them look like lightning bugs, like those little light up bugs that fly around, like Ray from Princess and the Frog. Oh, that would be so cute. Okay, Saria. Okay, so anyway, these are light up Winnie the Pooh inspired ears. If you guys haven't subscribed already, please do. I make regular Disney content every week. I do have a playlist of DIY Mickey ears if you're interested. I believe it has over 40 tutorials on it at this point, so if you're looking for something specific, it could be on there. And if you don't find it on there, always leave it for me in the comments below. I am going to try to get through my New Year's resolution box of emptying out this box of crafts before I buy anything new, but there's totally a chance that I have something in there that will work already. And without further ado, let's get into this tutorial.
Okay, so to start off, I'm going to be using my spacing template, a candle that I have that is about a 4-inch diameter. This is going to be used to wrap the wire around to create a really nice round shape of your ear. Just start out by taking some floral wire. I get mine from Dollar Tree, and I did decide to go with the gold one for these ears because, you know, honey, golden, all that. And you're basically just going to use the candle to make a nice rounded ear shape. The template is so that you can get the spacing right between each ear. I do find this to be the absolute easiest way to do this. I do have some older wire ear tutorials where I used an old set of ears, like another set of Mickey ears to do this as well. So if you have a set at home, feel free to do it that way. But just in case this is your first set of ears, I just wanted to give you guys a different way of doing it. And then go ahead and clip off the excess wire. Double check to make sure you like the spacing with your headband, and then we are going to go in and glue this wire down. So I usually start with the middle part just to make sure that it doesn't shift off center. Again, I am double checking, and I would suggest just keeping this template kind of close by because nothing looks wonkier than a crooked set of ears, right? So I'm going to go in with my hot glue gun and lay down a little bit of hot glue and kind of press the wire down into it. And then I like to cover the top of the wire with more hot glue. The good news is you can still kind of adjust it while the hot glue is wet. And all of this is going to get covered up by some ribbon that we are going to be using in a moment. So I'm giving you guys kind of a close-up. That footage that I just showed you guys is actually from making another set of ears because it was kind of a better angle than when I did it with this pair. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys kind of a closer look. And then when you are about to do the sides, I would double check it with the template before you go back in with your hot glue gun. But you're going to use that same method, put a little bit of hot glue down, press the wire into it, and then go back over the top of the wire and just encase it in hot glue. So for this next step, I'm going to be using this glitter craft ribbon. I'm going to be using this to cover up the wire on the side. I honestly wouldn't suggest this ribbon just because it was such a hard to stretch, like it was so firm in its natural state, I guess, that it was kind of hard to wrap. I do think a normal ribbon would do a lot better job, or even some twine. My friend Allison over at Pixie Dust and Parenting did something very similar to this, and she sent me a pair of ears that she wrapped in twine. So that would be a good alternative, but this is what I'm using because it's what I had on hand. But basically the goal of this is just to cover up that wire. Normally with a pair of floral ears, you can use the flowers to do this, but being that we are doing a bow on this set, I needed a way just to make this look a little bit nicer to where you couldn't see all that hot glue that we used to firmly attach the wiring. I would suggest using a little bit of hot glue as you go, so every time you kind of do a loop, just put a little dot of hot glue, press the ribbon down into it. It'll just make it adhere to the headband a little bit better. And then when you're doing this part, I would suggest doing a couple loops at a time just because going through the ear with the entire spool of ribbon is kind of a pain in the tush. It's not hard, but I'm impatient and want things to go faster, so... And then I did want to give you guys kind of a closer look at how to do this part, because this is probably the most challenging part with the ribbon, especially with this type of ribbon. When you get around the ear, you are going to have to be very conscious of closing up the gap where that wire is, to where you can't tell that it's like two separate pieces, if that makes sense. Like, you kind of want to hide it as best you can. So I'm just doing this exact same method of laying down a little bit of hot glue, pressing down the ribbon, and then wrapping it around, pressing it down into the glue again, and just continuing my way all the way around the headband. So not wanting this video to be 20 minutes long, I am going to skip ahead. This is just how I finished up the headband. I just kind of got to the end, glued down the edge, and then just snipped off the excess. You can see it on the bottom of the ear if you're looking, but I mean, like, why would someone be looking, I guess? So yeah, that's pretty much it for the base of your ears, and now we're going to move on to the fun part. Now for the little bees, this was the best option I could find. They're these little Bumble Bee buttons that I got from Walmart, and they do say that they only come with 9, but my package included 10, so I don't know if I'm just special or what. And then you're also going to need this strand of LED lights. I get mine off of Amazon, and I will have them linked in the description box below. And then I will be using this pre-made red bow. It does say $2 and something cents, but I got 2 of them, and they were each $1 at Walmart because they were clearanced in like the little girl section. So for your ears, just make sure that your ears aren't bent in any weird way and that they're nice and smooth. That is one of the reasons I highly suggest Dollar Tree floral wire. It smooths out very, very nicely. And then you're just going to start off by taking your strand of lights and looping it through the little loop on the button. The back of the button for these does have like a little opening, and then you can just slide your wire in there. You do have to kind of be gentle with it and kind of like wiggle it around to get each bulb through, but it does fit quite easily. And you need to string all of the bees before you get started. I did make this mistake. I only strung half of them, thinking I could do it one ear at a time, but that does not work because once you have glued down the edge of the ears, you no longer have a way of stringing the bees on. I do want to show you guys kind of what the look I was going for with this, and I just kind of put the light behind the bee because it makes them more noticeable, and then when you wear them at night, you can still tell that they are Winnie the Pooh ears. So you need to decide kind of what side you're going to begin working on, but I am putting my battery pack onto the left side, and then I'm just going to take the other end and start looping it around my ear. There's a lot of different ways you could do this as far as how you want the bees to look, but I did decide I wanted the majority of my bumblebees around the perimeter of the ear with just 1 or 2 kind of flying in the opening of the ear. So this is where I realized I needed to string the rest of them. However, I did not realize I had to string all of them until it was kind of too late. So again, learn from my mistakes, put all of the bees onto the light strand before you start wrapping. And next you're going to actually start wrapping this wire around the ear. So you're also going to want to make sure you count out how many bulbs you have and divide it in half. I did decide to do, I believe, 5 bees on each ear. So I just kind of cut it down the middle. And as I'm wrapping it, I'm just literally, I'm turning the lights off so you guys can see it a little bit better. But I'm just taking it slowly and wrapping it around the ear. These bees we are going to glue into place just to make sure that they don't slide or turn upside down or anything like that, but I wouldn't do that until a little bit later just in case you need to reposition your wire in any way. Now for the last bee, I am showing you guys how I'm hot gluing. I'm just putting 1 dot of hot glue and then just kind of taking that bulb and putting it in the glue. And then I took the excess wire and just went ahead and wrapped it around the ear where the bow is going to go, so that my bow will also have kind of a luminescent effect. And now I'm just going in and making sure my bees are in the position that I want them in, and I'm going to add glue to each one of them to make sure they do not shift around. And this is what one ear looks like when it is all lit up and you've got your bees all positioned. Do keep in mind, if you want your bees to look like they're going a certain direction, make sure that you account like how the ears are going to look on your head, because I noticed that some of my bees were flying like straight upward, and I kind of wanted them looking like they were flying more at the bow. Also make sure with your positioning that your bow is not going to block any of them, so I kind of shifted mine all to the side so that the bow would not hide them. And now I am moving on to the other side and beginning to wrap around the lights on the other side. And this is also where I realized that I needed to put all of the bees on first. And now I had no way of getting them on. I did figure out a way to fix it. Don't worry, guys. If you forget, or if you just can't get the lights through the bee for some reason, I did go in on the other side and I just hot glued them onto the lights, and they held up perfectly fine. I even tugged on them to see if I could rip them off. If you really try, you absolutely can, but they won't just fall off on their own. And I realized right about now. But I just continued on, and I'm just going to wrap these lights all the way around and then do the same thing I did before, where when I get to the end of the ear, I'm going to stretch it across the center so that I can have 1 or 2 bees kind of floating across the ear. And then I will wrap all of the excess lights behind the bow. Now, as far as hiding the light pack, that was one of the reasons I really wanted to use this bow, because it is quite large and it has a perfect opening to place my light switch pack actually inside of the bow. And then I'm just going to hot glue it, not completely closed, but tight enough to where this can't slide in and out easily. But I'm only going to hot glue on this bottom part and kind of tightly shift it in. That way, if I do need to change the batteries, I can fold down the fabric on the opposite side and replace the batteries as needed. And now I'm going to glue this bow into place. This bow did have a rubber band on the back. It's kind of like a cheer bow. And so I'm just going to snip off that rubber band, the hair tie part, and glue it down into the center. And then I'm doing the same thing with the bow that I'm putting on the back. So now I am going to go in and start adding in those bees that I should have looped in but didn't, and just putting a little bit of hot glue on the back. I'm going to firmly press it down onto each of the little lights that I had placed. Now this is what the back of the ears looks like if you do not add a back bow or a two-sided bow. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover up those wires. I did the exact same thing as before. I kind of cut off that elastic, put a little bit of glue on the bottom of the bow, and I'm just firmly pressing it down into the center of the headband to conceal the wires. And then once you have your bows positioned, just go ahead and fluff them out and make sure they are how you like them. I did have a little light bulb kind of poking out underneath the bow on the front, so I did go in with just a little drop of hot glue to cover that up, just so that it wasn't like a blinding light underneath the bow. And that pretty much does it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you do end up trying to make these yourself and recreating them, please tag me if you post them on Instagram. You can follow me at DreamItDIY. I love seeing what you guys recreate and the little changes and tweaks that you make to the designs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have subscribed. If not, click that red button and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!